Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and of course it is the first Friday of the month, which means a new Gems of War Mythic. Today we ended up getting the Mythic of Ahries. It will be in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and then it'll be in the drop table with everything else. We also have a very weird faction event happening over again. However, we will be covering that in a different video, whereas this video will be focusing on the Mythic itself, as far as teams for it, going and getting in keys, and just kind of first impressions overall in the troop. So first things first, let's go and actually look at the troop, which is kind of easy since it's just sitting right up here due to its alphabetical position. But as far as the troop, it actually isn't that bad. This is why I generally try not to look at troops ahead of time, because this thing actually did get buffed compared to what it was. It was going to be 24 mana cost, now it's 20 mana cost, and it was going to do half its magic to 4 times plus 3. Now it does 2 times its magic plus 1 to 4 times its magic plus 3, or if you want to think of it a lot more simpler, just 2 times its magic to 4 times its magic, but it does have 1 additional on its first value and 3 additional on its second value. So basically it's just a really wide damage range that if it gets a kill will then do a bunch of explosions. This is definitely way inferior to something like Arachnin Weaver, but is still usable. You're generally doing some damage already to whatever the first slot is with your skulls, so being able to have this as a chip finisher to get a bunch of explode value from it can potentially be okay. So there are some situations where it's going to be good. It's going to be really bad against barrier, or if you start falling behind though, or if the first troop on the enemy team is really tanky and you don't have something like a rope dart to go with it. But overall has some decent potential. Actually, that reminds me, I didn't even do any rope dart synergy teams, but that is another angle to go about it. Quite a few strategies we will be showing for the initial teams, but rope dart is not one of them, though a really good weapon to utilize with it. As far as its unique traits, or as far as its unique traits, actually pretty bad. Just gains a bunch of armor to all brown allies whenever you match brown gems, which does make it benefit a little bit more when used in more of a brown-oriented team. However, it is definitely not required to use it in a brown-oriented team. It gets to do 2 times damage to anything that is stunned, which I feel like for the most part you're not really going to use too much. However, I am using Elementalist with a couple of these, so you will still be able to get that stun off for that little bit extra damage. And it does have 50% score reduction to keep it a little bit more alive, as when you do use it, it is commonly going to be in first slot, or at least kind of far up in your team. Maybe not always, but it's definitely more of like a first, second slot kind of troop if you are going to bother to use it at all. But anyways, let's go get this thing in the drop table. As far as where I would position this currently, I'd probably say it is slightly in the better half of Mythics. Not like super high in that position, but it's definitely in the better half. And I would advise getting, actually compared to other things in Khaziel, it might potentially be one of the better options that you have available, because the other two are really tanky, one with score reflect, the other one with just score reduction. However, this one's actually good in having both durability and damage output, which is kind of nice. Also, we are a little bit laggy right now. This is almost exactly at reset time, so the servers are a little backed up with everyone trying to get the Mythic. Though overall, it's not being too laggy, though. It's definitely missing some of my clicks because I'm like clicking on it, and it's not doing anything. But we might do so. Oh, I was going to say, I might start opening some by 200 just so we get it a bit quicker. But nope, there it is. Looks like it only took us like 400 or so. So we definitely got on the luckier side. Of course, on average, if you're going to be using something like gem keys, it takes about 1,000, give or take several hundred. Could take less, could take more. For us, it definitely took less this time around, which is nice. Anyways, let's go put them into all the teams, get them all nice and traded, and get good to go. So this first team is going to be a bit of a mid-range team as far as rarity. This one's going to be using a lot of higher rarity options, as well as centered around Brown Guild War specifically, even though I don't think you're going to bother using this thing in Guild War. It has some potential overall, though I'm not quite sure if Guild War will necessarily be its positioning, because Weaver gets away with it due to it having better damage distribution, while also having web, while also having resummon, while also having stealthy, while also having impervious, while also having like everything that this thing doesn't. However, yeah, it's just an inferior option in many situations. Though one thing I did just notice is almost exact inverse colors. Not quite, because they do have yellow overlap, but it is almost exact inverse colors of Weaver. So at least has that going for it, if nothing else. So there are a lot of situations where you're not allowed to use Weaver, but you will be able to use this thing. So we'll give at least some more build diversity to those other colorations, if nothing else. Actually, you know what? Let me go save some save some souls here. We'll use a little green orb on that last one to save us 1,200 souls every little bit. We have a billion green orbs. Might as well be using them for some souls where we can. Obviously, Mythics gain the most amount of benefit from that. Could probably use some orange orbs there too, but oh well. It is upgraded now. So do we have it in all 3 of the teams? Believe so. Let's go and get it to them. Of course, all these teams. Oh, and also we get another star on Khaziel, of course, which now brings us to 23 stars, unless I'm missing something. Am I missing something? Probably not. Well, technically we are. Upgrade the Kingdom of Khaziel to 16. Oh, that means we actually do have to do that. Do be wary of that. Okay, I guess I'll go do that now just so I don't forget. But yeah, if you do go and upgrade literally everything, do make sure to buy this. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting a bunch of bad offers. Or maybe not bad offers, but you're going to keep getting that other offer a little bit more often. So good idea to get that to 16 if you happen to be all the way up on that power level, or maybe just don't get that power level if you don't want to have to go and do that extra level. Luckily, we have enough resources there. That doesn't really matter too much. Anyways, let's go and get into the teams, all of which will be in the description below. And we're starting with a Zug. Though, in all fairness, this might be okay, because we also have a Child of Summer. So this is kind of a Yagwe Queen Titania team that doesn't use Hero, but instead uses the new Ahries. So we should be able to make this work. So let's look at our exact damage range here. So as you can see here, we're doing 97 to 195. So we can actually see this by doing 48 times 2. Oh gosh, I'm trying to do math in the morning, which is 96. And then you add the 1, so it's 97. And this one gets an additional 3. So we should times that by 4, which is 16, 16, 32. So that should be 192 plus 3, which is 195. So yeah, that checks out. It's 2 times its magic plus 1 and 4 times its magic plus 3. A little bit of a weird range, but that is what it does. So let's go see what this thing can do. So despite what I might have said earlier, this thing has gotten a buff and is actually good. And by earlier, I mean like prior to today, because it did actually get a pretty substantial buff for its release, which is good to see because it was pretty much going to be dead content with its previous setup, whereas now it's actually usable. I still feel like I personally won't be using this troop too often, but oh yeah, one other thing we can end up doing here, which one of the reasons for having Queen Titania too, is Fairy Fire. You can get synergy with this. Of course, that does 50% extra spell damage, and that will work on this. So if we want to gamble this right now, we have a potential to kill. And unfortunately, did 201, which means we rolled around a, like a 130 something, because we got a 50% extra. So unfortunately, that was not enough to kill. Of course, he gets a lot of value when he does, and ideally we want him doing such a thing. We ideally want to be killing everything as him as our finisher. Luckily here, Yagwe will be able to go and do our setup here, which we'll be able to kind of just get everything rolling. We have a free Queen Titania, I believe, here, so we'll go for that. We have no Yagwe alignment, so we're going to try for extra turn off this new troop. There's literally no way we're not going to get 8 explosion, so we'll go for that. Hope we get a lucky board. Unfortunately, we don't quite, and the new Mythic does end up dying, which is a little unfortunate. And then we just go for Yagwe, and that is basically a match. Probably should have taken the skull first, because then we could have had a way to finish it, but we still end up killing it regardless. So a little bit unlucky there, but got the job done, if nothing else. Had a little bit of tankability to survive a little bit longer, but Zugoff will still do Zugoff things. Anyways, oh gosh, double pen. We might want to skip on this one, just because it might disorient our team enough to not really show the team correctly. Oh no, we'll go find another one. Actually, Beatrix is more of a real team, though I also don't want to get like infinite looped by a random Beatrix. Here we go, a different Zugoff team. Oh gosh, Empower. What Empower is that? Blue to red? That's fine. Okay, so this next one is built around Pure Brown. So probably more so for factions, possibly. Ketris does end up scaling, so you do end up having that. I'm not sure exactly if you would end up using this for Guild War necessarily, as compared to something like Weaver. Weaver is just such a superior option when it comes to the context of Guild War, so you probably won't be using this much in comparison. However, this does end up gaining a benefit when used in PvP, ends up getting all of those extra stats, has an armor gain that stacks with the other armor gain that stacks into the Ketris needing armor, and the hero is mostly just there to stun. I was originally going to use the tower there, but I did end up opting for hero. And if you're not going pure color, Rope Dart's definitely a nice alternative option if you don't have Dustbringer laying around. As, well, I didn't make any teams for it yet. Rope Dart is a really good option for this, because of course you could Rope Dart into using his ability, and with the armor tier, that's probably going to be enough to kill. That's more of like a PvP-like situation. So you can actually get away with that on yellow Guild War Day, oddly enough, if you are going to try to go down that route. And we might end up dying here. There's so many skulls on the board, I'm actually just going to hit on skulls. We also have skull reduction on literally everything on the team. However, that might not matter much. So, what do we even need here? I also find it funny that sometimes the highest rarity stuff just dies the absolute easiest whenever we showed for these. I do find that to be a pretty funny reoccurring theme. Oh, yeah, that's fine. So we're going to go take a... I was going to say I should have probably taken it for a 3 so we had surge chance. Not sure why I took it for a 4. But we actually want to bleed mana into the other thing. Ideally, to do this, we'd want to take a brown or a red right now. Neither are available, so we're just going to take a yellow. We do not have enough range to really kill, so we're just going to take a little bit more mana. Luckily, he still has a little ways to go on his Ketris. I kind of want to deny him on purple. However, there is no way I think we could deny every purple on the board. Though, never mind, I think we just did. So next, we want to make sure this will have enough to kill. If we truly wanted to make sure this would happen, we actually want to go and hit... this directly. However, we get better damage distribution the other way around. Let's see, how much does this actually kill? It does, I'm pretty sure. What's 49 plus 191? That is 240. 240 into that. That is enough. So if I do this, I will then set up Ketris. I mean, not Ketris. It will set up Zugaf into what will likely be a kill. However, I don't like it being likely. I want it to be guaranteed. So I'm going to go take a Skull. He's going to get Skull distracted. We get our 50% reduction there. And now we guarantee have a kill, just to not risk it, because it is a very wide range. And while it is possible that it could have killed there, we do want to make sure we guarantee it, just to make sure it gets its mana back, gets those explosions, and gets us rolling into our next cast. And right here, we basically do the same premise. Ketris does a big poke. Oh, never mind, I already killed it. And if it didn't, we would then follow it up with the other one and kind of rinse and repeat. It kind of fell apart a little bit to that one Zugaf cast. However, it still came through. Anyways, the Obsidious build, interesting. So we're going to be using the cheap build now. This one ends up just using a Mountain Crusher to get that Brown Storm to kind of synergize with that little bit of extra armor gain. Uses him not in first slot, oddly enough, mostly to let your hero tank with Browns, as it's a little bit more relevant earlier on in the game to keep barrier spamming, because things might be hitting you for a lot of damage, way more than you might have durability for, so you'd get a lot more protection from a barrier off a hero than you would off of this thing. Leprechaun's mostly just here to cover mana accumulation, and we have Rashka here for a bunch of explosions. He also scales off the gold from Leprechaun, because every 10 gold gives him 1 additional explosion, and Leprechaun gets 20 gold per cast. He also gets 10 gold per cast off himself, so we're going to get a decent amount of gold there. Anyways, we're kind of just going to take stuff off the board until we don't have any options, cast Leprechaun, and hopefully have something to do. So we'll take our brown there. We have Rashka. What we can end up doing with this is... also, we got a lot of stun to synergize with it, too. So we can end up going for the little bit of stun procs here and there if we really want to. So let's go and... we're going to take a poke here. So that's one thing that we can kind of use Rashka for, is just kind of keep poking it into kill range. I'm going to gamble a kill right here. We did indeed land it. And you basically just rinse and repeat. You do Rashka again. Honestly, I actually like this synergy the most so far out of any of these teams. Literally the lowest rarity one. I'm not sure how this happens almost every time. But, yeah, don't underestimate things that have lower mana costs. There's a lot of low rarity things that are decently strong. But yeah, we can just rinse and repeat the cycle. Just keep doing it. Honestly, might be the strongest one yet. It might just been the context of this particular battle that just happened to work. But it works surprisingly well. Just going for that quick Leprechaun Empower. I think it might more so just be that Empower is so strong. And we just didn't get as good of an Empower for the summer one. So that could have potentially been the case. But anyways, guys, that is the new Mythic. So yeah, pretty good option. Definitely not one of the best Mythics in the game, but it's very much usable. It's fun to mess around with, and it has some potential going forward. Compared to Arachne Weaver, it seems pretty inferior though. But the fact that it can synergize with skull pokes and things like that, it's basically a Weaver that hits the front but has some less desirable perks overall across the line. But it is very much usable. If you are going to use it, it might get incorporated in some Guild War teams. For example, actually, you know what? We're not over yet. I want to go build a yellow Guild War team real quick and see what happens. Let's just see what happens. So we're going to be adding one more. Let's get rid of... oh, can I not sort it from this menu? Oh, well, we'll put over this one. So let's go build a yellow rope dart team. Because I was mentioning that earlier, but I didn't actually make one. So it is probably going to be one of the better locations to end up using this thing. Is going to end up being, if you are going to bother using it, possibly on a yellow or brown Guild War day. And there is a chance that yellow Guild War might actually be more beneficial for it. So what is a good yellow Empower? Isn't there one that feeds to brown? Because we could just use the one dwarf. That also gives us Enrage to first slot. Oh, that has complete color overlap though, unfortunately. Let me double check. Yellow Empower, what's every option we have? Summer is interesting, but it denies brown. Anything else? Purple we don't need. Yeah, I think we might have to go Gimlet. It denies green, which denies a color we don't need, so I think it might still work out. The only problem with using Gimlet here is we do only get one cast out of it, and we're only really feeding it into one singular thing. However, if that one singular thing can get us going, should be kind of good to go. Also, we're probably not going to get power encountered necessarily on it on a yellow Guild War day. Since yellow is probably going to get denied into purple more likely. So we probably want to have one good purple option onto our team just to kind of hold down the line. So any kind of purple-yellow related mythic would probably be a good idea to just kind of slot in here. So let's see what our options are real quick. And go test this last team. We'll make one on the fly. Where on earth is base rarity? Am I blind? Where's base rarity? I see rarity. Where's... Oh, I'm in the wrong one. I'm like, wait... No wonder why. I'm underneath weapons. That might be why. I can't find a single base rarity there. Also, I don't want Empower. I just want simply yellow, purple, all colors. Okay. Aha! Weaver! No. We can't do Weaver with it. Though that is kind of funny, but they would never be used in the same team. Though it would be kind of funny to try to use them together. Yavandra would deny our yellow, so we definitely don't want to do that. Queen Aurora wouldn't hurt. This one, I don't feel like it would do enough upfront pressure. We want some upfront pressure to go with it. I'm almost considering Infernus. We could go more of a mana accumulating route. Honestly, for mana coverage, Weaver is the best thing here. Am I going to put a Weaver on this team? That seems like such a bad idea. However, there is one synergy that you can kind of get out of it. Though I think you're overkilling at that point. You know what? We're just going to do Weaver if nothing. We're just going to try it. Regardless of its viability. I think we might just go Elemental just for the sake of how broken it is. It could probably go... You'd probably pick your class very situationally in this team, dependent on what on earth the enemy team is. But for now, we're just going to go down this route. So I believe we're covering every color now since we specifically went for Weaver. Because, yeah, we do cover everything. We wouldn't necessarily want to minus anything either, so we're probably just going to go for a double yellow. If we were to minus something, I feel like, even though we use two of it, I almost want to minus red. We're denying green, so denying green actually wouldn't hurt either. So if we were to go for like a double yellow into minus green, like a +2 yellow, +1 purple, just to make sure Weaver can get up a little bit better. But then again, we're taking one thing from Weaver just to give something else to Weaver. Oh no, I'd rather keep it nice and distributed. I'm just going to go for a double yellow. Keep it nice and simple for now. You could, of course, adjust it depending on what you need, though. Biggest issue here is we are feeding a lot into brown. So do we have a double yellow brown? Like, what minus color is that if we even have it? +2 yellow, yep, okay, we're minusing green then. Because, yeah, that works out. +2 yellow, +1 brown, so we get a better value off the Empower there. We also get the value off of the yellow. And we should be good to go. I'm slightly concerned with how starting board might end up affecting this, but let's just do this for fun, see what happens. So he's using a Doomed Axe team, which is more of an anti-purple, though. This is somewhat structured like what a Guild War team would possibly be. So we'll go fight it. Obviously, given the team that we're up against right now, we definitely want to rope dart the Ketris. That's not even any question. So we have yellow to brown convert. Unfortunately, on this current board, we cannot do anything with that. Unless I'm missing something somewheres, but that does appear to be a dud. We do use green, however, we do get less mana from that green. So we could end up going for... I'm still going to go for it. We get the mana. Right now, we want to go and bring his Zugoff up. The only big issue here is that we can't get our big burst of brown mana. However, we can feed directly to brown mana, if nothing else. So we do have that going for us, which is nice. I do actually kind of want to go for purple directly here. Ideally, would have gotten a Cascade there. Still trying to get alignment in this area. I almost just want to keep moving it in a way where we can at least attempt for alignment. We also want to pay attention to what his mana accumulator is. We just blocked him off of purple, so he can't get it there. He actually doesn't really have anything too good. We could pretend that this is a book, because in a Guild War context, that probably would be yellow book, because this is a yellow Guild War team, so we can... that generally would have been a yellow book, so we'd want to make sure he doesn't take yellow. Luckily, there's only one yellow on the board. He would get value from it, so you know what? I'm actually going to deny it, just in case. Pretend that it is a book there, because in a Guild War context, it likely would be. So we'll go take a blue here. A little bit of a slow start, that is for sure. Mostly because we had a really bad starting board. If we had a good alignment there, we'd pretty much already have won. So I actually do want to keep his Zugoff there. We want to do that so we can go kill it. I think we just Red Surge here. And of course we don't Land Surge. It's a little unfortunate. but we can go claim full mana. That does give him green extra turn. He doesn't really do too much from a green extra turn, so we'll just stick a yellow there. Make sure he doesn't get any value. And now we can actually start playing the match. So we'll go do that, get our kill, go for Rope Dart, kill the next big objective, and basically just rinse and repeat until the entire team is dead. Weaver does look like it's going to be more of a backup option in this, because it's going to be hard to actually get a synergy where you can go Weaver first into the other thing. So it's mostly just going to be the Rope Dart then. And yeah, you'll probably need a different option than Weaver. I don't know. Weaver is just such a good backup plan in Guild Wars, though. Like, even if it does nothing for your battle, it is still doing so much for you just because of what it does after the fact. So it's still kind of worth it because it's so good at just not losing. Oops, I accidentally overkilled. I actually should have rope darted the other one. I slightly underestimated how much damage we have. Also, we casted this literally 0 times. We have 2 troops basically doing nothing. This whole team is just rope dart into the new Ahries, which is the whole premise I wanted to do anyway. So at least we're showing off the premise, if nothing else. Because that's the whole kind of gimmick with this team, is just rope dart, cast to Ahries, rope dart, cast Ahries, and rinse and repeat. You could do that with a non-pure yellow team too. And probably would work better with a non-pure yellow team, obviously, because you could go a better mana accumulator option that's more consistent. You can end up going like anything else as your damage source. Though Arachne Weavers is such a good make sure you don't lose Guild War kind of option. And we do have Guild Wars right around the corner, of course. So overall, I don't know. I really like this Mythic. I'm glad that they end up buffing it because it's actually fun to play now. It's probably not going to be used too often. Like, I'll probably mess around with it in next Guild War just to kind of see what it can end up doing. Probably for yellow and maybe brown day. Probably more so just yellow day and see what it can actually end up ultimately doing. However, I personally don't feel like it's going to be like the absolute meta pick most of the time. It doesn't have a lot of things that quite a few other options have that makes it really good in Guild Wars, and in many other contexts it just doesn't have the damage to keep up. Like, you're not going to be running it that like in deep delves or anything like that. And like mid-range delves and the earlier part of delves, yeah, I can get away with it and use it almost like how Weavers ran in like the early mid-range of delves. However, when it comes to PvP, that's going to be the only situation where it really gets used. But I just feel like there's better options a lot of the time in PvP. But overall, I would say get it. Compared to the Khaziel Mythic, it is probably my favorite of the 3 because you have like basically a tank and a reflect option there. So to be able to have something that is both a tank and a decent damage source is pretty nice, and a bit of a change of pace for Khaziel, as most of their Mythics wasn't really too damage oriented, or if they were doing so in a very, very weird way that was kind of clunky, not really that usable. So yeah, definitely I would advise trying to get this Mythic. I wouldn't go too crazy for it though, because it's definitely not a must-have Mythic, but it's a fun utility option to have nonetheless if you kind of want an inverse Arachne Weaver basically. But anyways guys, that'll wrap it up for now. All the video or all the teams that we ended up showing in this video will be in the description below. We'll also be covering the faction, which is a repeat faction. It's not a new one this time around. However, we will be covering a video on that as well if you want any teams for that. And of course, we'll be streaming tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do every single night here on the channel. And we'll be messing around with the faction events, as well as messing around with the new Mythic that we just went over this video. Anyways guys, best of luck with trying to get the new Mythic over the rest of this week. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and goodbye everyone. Thanks for watching.